Hello, Pipers. Typing Piper here. Hmm. Getting ready to stuff some Mark Twain in here. In my man, the lighting out here really sucks tonight. Um, this is a Morgan Bones, my brand new pipe. Bent apple. Broke it in earlier today. Made a video that will be posted sometime tomorrow. Probably when I am at work because it's free, better Wi Fi than the paid Wi Fi that I have at home. Whatever. So, already, this is a recent batch of Mark Twain that I got. Sotliff, their Mark Twain blonde. And I'm noticing it has more moisture than the previous batch that I purchased. Hmm. So today was a good day. Got some yard work done. Felt like I accomplished something. Stopped at the old brewery. Feel like my daughter kind of runs the place these days. It's like uh, it's like she's becoming Norm from Cheers. You walk in, everybody cries out Zoe. So shouldn't really be surprised. She's cute. Later, when that happens to her in her life, it'll have a different meaning behind it. All right, so far this blend of Mark Twain, I feel like it tastes better than the previous batch that I had. Has a bit of a, let's take a sweet apple flavor to it. Hello, viewer. I see you on there. Goodbye, viewer. It looks like you left. No, this blend is it's pretty good. That's why I I think I bought like another 4 ounces of it. Still have some in a jar downstairs in the old cellar. Sometimes I feel like when I do these live feeds that my internet at home isn't exactly the best setup for it. Like I don't know, maybe it loses connection or something. So it is fall. It is currently hunting season, and I am not out in the woods, which is kind of depressing because I started hunting later in life. I wanted to learn how to do it when I was a kid, and had a stepdad that was Man, how do I explain that one? I had an interest in firearms. I had an interest in hunting, the outdoors, camping. And it seemed like it was never on the table as for something to learn how to do, any of it. So I think the closest thing I remember to being taught any of that was shooting a Red Ryder BB gun in the driveway. Which I wasn't good at, and therefore I was basically told like she'll never do that again. Which not exactly up there on the the high quality parenting scale. If you're not good at something, which nobody's ever good at anything when they first start, but if you're not good at something and you're interested in it and you're enjoying learning how to do it, that's when you should be encouraged to keep doing it because eventually anything that you put enough time into, you're going to be halfway decent at. That includes shooting. So I think I was in my early 30s. First time I ever shot a firearm. And that includes 22 shotguns, um, 7.62s, 45. I think the first time I went out shooting, I also shot a 9mm pistol. That the odd thing is the first time I went shooting, I remember one of the rifles I shot. It was a 223 bolt action, 100 yards. I was hitting the bullseye. My uncle, who was teaching me, he's like, I thought you never shot before, and I was like, I haven't. And he's like, well, how are you hitting that? I put the X on the dot. And looking back, honestly, I don't know how I did it, but I was pretty good with the long rifles. Pistols, on the other hand, oh my god, I was trying to hit a 2 liter bottle at like 20 feet and just killing worms. But then later on, something changed where uh, I'd go out target shooting, and I was doing pretty good with like my 22s are like super cheap to shoot, so of course I took that out with me. Long rifles I was having a harder time with. 7.62s. Um, and then at some point, pistols became like really easy to shoot for me. We're talking like 30 yards plus, like grapefruit sized holes in the paper. Okay, this Mark Twain blend is it's, it's really good. I don't remember it being this good. I mean, I remembered it being good to the point where I bought like 4 more ounces of it when I still had some left. But Sutliff really outdid themselves with this. I tried looking up online what Mark Twain smoked. they had like some of the cigars listed that were at his house, but they're props. They didn't know if it was stuff actually left by him, if it was purchased and like set up for his writing space when you go to visit the house, but couldn't really find anything about pipe tobacco. Some of his writings, though, I look back, there's his writings about going out west and getting in the wagon and traveling across the plains. Several pounds of pipe tobacco in bags, corncob pipe. And those are like some of his fondest memories were like traveling into the unknown, having a pipe, puffing away, not knowing what was going to happen. Never experienced anything like that. I've similar circumstances, but going off into the unknown, not knowing what's out west, what's going to be waiting for you, if you're going to have a job or housing when you get there. Definitely something I feel like not just my generation, like this century kind of lacks. I guess you could say that about the immigrants traveling here from Central and South America, though. I mean, that's kind of the journey. It's not like you can just get in a wagon and go, though. I guess that's the big difference. Definitely need to read more Mark Twain. That's um, that's a guy that you can't help but admire. Not like anybody, he had some failures in life. Trying to invest in companies, missing out on the telephone. Oh man, like he had the option of investing money into the first telephone company. Didn't see the didn't see how a one-on-one conversation across the country was beneficial. So didn't really have the foresight for that. Lost a lot of money into a self. What would you call it? It was a printing machine that was able to uh, put the the stamps or whatever in it by itself. Thought that was going to be a huge thing, and it just never worked. But that is one guy like his books will never they will never be out of print as long as civilization is around. There's a word phenomenon in the writing culture that I came across a year or two ago. I wrote several books and put them on Amazon, and some of them were fairly successful, others were not. One of the last books that I wrote and published, a company was looking at publishing it, and I finally got the last version of it. One of their comments was they didn't like how I wrote it in the third person. And I worked with an editor, and he was saying that longer sentences were uh, more entertaining. He had all these points on improving the writing. Most of them I agreed with. When it came to the actual publisher, he was like, the most successful books right now are in first person. And the first thing that came to mind was like, like young adult books? Which, hey, that's a huge market. I get it. I wasn't exactly writing for a young adult crowd, but at the same time, a lot of the big books that were being consumed were, and still are, written in the first person. Which for me, I find to be very limiting when it comes to the content. I find it to be limiting when it comes to the perspective that the reader could have. Because as the book written in the first person, you, the reader, have the perspective of the person telling the story. And there's other people out there like George R. R. Martin who writes in the first person, but he writes in the first person of, this chapter is by this character, this chapter is by this character, which in itself is pretty unique. So you're being told the story by somebody else. Now, third person, I like because basically the reader is the reader overall is like an omnipotent being who is witnessing all of these events from a different perspective, almost like a fly in the wall. And they know the whole story when the characters may not. And I feel like that's where, if you're telling a grand story, that's the way to go. If you have several characters, that's the way to go. It's it's difficult. It's You never know what road to take. And really, you start writing a book, and you may have the story idea, but once you start writing it kind of takes a mind of its own. So this pipe, Morgan Bones, Bent Apple, I don't really have any complaints about it. It let's see here, stood up to my video this morning because I like the the bit at the end of the stem here. Fits in my teeth. Actually, better than most pipes that I own. It's really comfortable. It's lightweight. Doesn't stick out too far. It's not too close like a poker. The only odd thing that I found is that the tobacco doesn't burn all the way to the end of the bowl, which some people would argue that's a good thing. You're not going to have that burnout at the bottom. You don't want it to burn all the way. It's all on your own personal pipe theory. Me being a cheap ass, I like to smoke all of my tobacco. I would like to get a Savinelli, and I've been debating back and forth. Do I want to get an Author? Do I want to get Savinelli one of these? I don't even know the model number. Savinelli Bent Apple. They have two different varieties. There's the non-filtered and the 9mm filtered. And if I do get one, I don't know which one to get. For about a week, I was seriously considering ordering the Savinelli Author. Pipe Nook had them in. I'd already ordered this one. But honestly, I really enjoy this design. I feel like this is just more comfortable for me. This one stays really cool. It's not getting hot, but it has this rusticated surface on the outside. I don't know how it's going to age. I don't know how the color is going to change. You know, some people it's not really important. But I kind of wonder what a smooth briar would be like. How it'd be different. And I really got this because although I have a lot of estate pipes, I have more estate pipes than I need. So I have all these pipes, but at the same time, I don't know, for some reason I just wanted a pipe that was uniquely mine. Something that, you know, one day when I pass away, I'll always have had that pipe. The kids or grandkids will know, like, oh yeah, he bought that brand new. He owned it the rest of his life after that. He only smoked these blends on that. Do you see the color that it has? The the oils from my skin are still on the briar. I often wonder if if Tolkien's family did they that pipe that he's smoking on the back of those old Lord of the Rings covers in The Hobbit from the 70s. He's got that straight billiard. He's just if they kept that pipe, it's still somewhere. If Tolkien kept the pipe, don't really know too much about his smoking habits. We know what he smoked, what he liked. Was he one of those guys that once the cake built up too much, he just threw it out? Did he clean it? Did he have one? Did he have several? There's a shop downtown stopped selling pipe tobacco earlier this year. They didn't really have much to offer. I guess back in the day, like probably 20 years ago, they had a selection. Used to sell tins, they had their jars. And I went in there. I basically bought out all the vanilla custard that they had and the maple and rum mixture that they had. They had amaretto. They had, I think they had like 8 ounces of amaretto left. I bought that. He said, once it's gone, it's gone. You're the first person to come in here and buy pipe tobacco in 2 or 3 years. And he's got these pipes that sit in a case like right in front of the register. Hello, viewer. Welcome. I have been chatting to, I don't know, myself, talking out loud, I guess, for about a half an hour now. I was just discussing one of the tobacco shops downtown that no longer sells pipe tobacco. Still has a few pipes. I guess the guy hasn't sold any in 10 plus years. And one thing he said was what he noticed with pipe smokers is that they buy one pipe and they smoke the damn thing the rest of their lives. Which I think is funny because every pipe smoker I know has a shit ton of pipes. But where his shop is, the clientele is primarily business guys in suits that want to smoke a cigar. And I've never smelled a cigar where I said, ooh, what is that? I want to try that. Which I think is funny because now we have blends out there that are, they have cigar leaf in them. I've tried a few, but never smelled like any type of cigar I've ever smelled. I was also contemplating the lives of famous pipe smokers that we know of, like Tolkien and Mark Twain. Mark Twain writing about going across the Great Plains, smoking a corn cob, a couple pounds of pipe tobacco in the wagon. But then you never really know, like, what they were smoking, what exactly they were smoking. Was it a burley? Was it some other blend? I mean, if it was bags, we know it was loose leaf. It wasn't like a plug or a crumble cake or anything like that. Currently, why I got into the subject, I'm smoking Mark Twain's Sutliff, or Sutliff, their Mark Twain blend. Which I am enjoying a lot more than the first time I tried. In my brand new Morgan, the lighting sucks here, Morgan Bones Bent Apple. Just broke it in today with some Flying Dutchman. Another blend that I come to really like. So this pipe, I'm primarily going to stick with Virginia Burley Cavendish mixtures. So if you're watching this video, what have you been up to this weekend? Where are you from? How are you doing? Are you enjoying a pipe? I have to warn you that I've been having some issues with this YouTube live feed lately. Last time I did one of these with my friend Ben, um, people were making comments. Things weren't popping up on the screen. I don't know why. I don't know if. Let's do a live chat. Maybe I had the settings wrong. It is a very nice, cool evening, very calm here in Michigan. After the week that we've had weather-wise, this is a very pleasant change. It's been dark, dreary, no sunlight whatsoever. I actually looked forward to going out and cleaning up the yard today. And I think I lost my viewer. Man. I don't know if you're still out there. Sometimes this contraption lies to me. Have people commenting and it'll say, like, you have no viewers right now. And I'm like, well, who the hell's talking then? Had an interesting conversation earlier today with a couple who primarily live downtown. In our city, there's usually some weird stuff happening downtown. I don't know what it is. Maybe it has to do with the fact that our city was built on an insane asylum slash pharmaceutical company. Might have something to do with it. There's also a long history of the pharmaceutical company testing products on the people in the insane asylum. I can't really find any moral issues with that. It's like, so who can consent to that? Hey, you're not in your right mind. Sign this paper. Sure, this was all before lawyers stepped in and, you know, had to prove that somebody had the mental wherewithal to sign a consent form. But yeah, we had this camp. You know, there's Bronson Park. It's kind of like a, how would I describe it? It's a really, really, really small version of like Central Park in New York. Big fountain used to be there, and they got rid of that because it was falling apart, and that was built during the New Deal in the 1930s. Also turned out that the image of a settler clubbing a Native American was offensive. And I'm only laughing because you know, it's just funny how like what we're 80 years after the fact, and that's how much things have changed. Uh, so that was taken down, but this camp was set up, and it was the homeless people, which, God, we have a lot of. Like our town, for some reason, is like a magnet. Like people actually come here on buses and trains to be homeless here. And we don't have that many shelters. There we have organizations that help, but it's getting to the point where there's only so much that we can do. And they were protesting for housing rights and wanting a permanent residence. But it's a mixture of people. You have people that outright choose to be homeless, which is a small percentage. But these are the people that, it's an option for them. You have the mentally ill who just can't function in society. Not their fault. It ended up being like a big debate as to like, what do we do? Come to find out today that there were people within the camp. The camp actually split off into two groups. You had some that were hanging out at this old fire station. Um, they they stayed there, and the other half went back to the actual park downtown, a couple blocks away. And I found out the reason why some stayed at the fire station was because legally they couldn't be around children. And I thought that was fairly interesting. Had no idea. Like, I tend to not keep up with local news, and I heard a whole other thing of like there was a disagreement between the leadership of this protest group, but that would explain a lot. And I'm really enjoying this Mark Twain blend. I might actually keep this on my permanent rotation when I ever figure out what that's going to be. Earlier today, I rewatched Gribley's old, it's like 2 years old, but it was a video on why not to hoard pipe tobacco. And as a beer on the front porch economist, he made some very good arguments against it. What I'm finding is a lot of the blends that will still be around regardless of what the FDA says. A lot of them I'm going to be fairly happy with. So I am not personally I'm not concerned because there's a lot of the blends out there. People are constantly talking about the Esoterica, which Never been able to get my hands on. Penzance always comes up. Then I hear about these other blends that are exactly like Penzance, but cheaper and easier to get. And yet I've never tried those. There's only one blend that I'm actually mourning at the moment. And, you know, it was like a couple months before Macallan's just disappeared. I bought all the Frogmorton blends, all of them, 1 tin a piece. So I was like, it's not gonna disappear. I just want to try them out, see what they're like, what everybody's raving about. I tried the Frogmorton Cellar, and that was probably like one of my first English blends. And it was all right. I mean, God, it's been probably over a year since I tried that. And I still have the majority of the tin left, and it's jarred up in the basement. But from my recollection, my memory, and who knows, maybe my palate has changed. Maybe I'll go back to it one day, tribal, and be like, oh my God, this is amazing. Why is this gone? But currently, I think it's about whatever you're smoking at the time and you're enjoying. Right now, I'm really enjoying this Mark Twain, which likely will not disappear because of the FDA. He also made a really good point about the whole limited edition, talking about how it's pretty much a scam to get you to buy it instead of something else. The wife and the deaf dog just walked out. And I have to agree with him on how it's really just a ploy to get you to buy it. It's limited, buy it now because you'll never get your hands on it again. And I ran across that with the limited edition Squadron Leader that popped up a couple weeks back. And from my understanding, the only difference was it had, what, Perique in it? Something different from the original blend. And I do have some Squadron Leader. I have yet to try it. I probably should. Um, Country Squire Radio was discussing the tins and whether you should age your stuff in tins or not. And what they were saying was that if you want to age it and it's in a tin, you should probably just take it out of the tin and put it in a jar. Because they've come across tins that, yeah, they were aged, they're kept in the right conditions, but you open it up and the tin is rusted on the inside. Maybe the tobacco itself became moldy and everything was ruined. But one thing they pointed out was that the rectangular tins, regardless of how cool they look, are crap. They tend to lose their seal. You can open it up after you've stored it away, and who knows how long it's been sitting there with the seal broken. Everything is dried out. So who knows? Maybe that's one that I'll end up cracking open sometime soon. Last time I checked on Smoking Pipes, again, it was sold out, wasn't available, out of stock. Well, it has been a fun bit. What, 45 minutes now? Hope everyone is doing well, that they enjoyed their weekend. Who knows? Maybe everybody is enjoying a nice pipe on the porch like I am. Should be so lucky. And I think that's about it. So, hope everyone is taking care of themselves, and remember, keep on typing.